You're scrolling through your Instagram stories and you see a photo of a friend you haven't talked to in 2 years. They're at a wedding or maybe just a coffee shop and they look happy. You know where they work, you know they just got a new dog, and you know they finally traveled to Japan. You have all the data. And yet, as you stare at that glowing rectangle, you feel this sudden, sharp pang of grief. It's a hollow ache in your chest that feels like mourning, but it doesn't make sense because they're right there. They're a text away. They're living their life. But as you look at the screen, you realize that you aren't missing their presence. You're missing the version of them that didn't feel like a digital ghost. You're missing the person who existed before they became a piece of content. There is a specific, quiet trauma to the modern age. The experience of missing people who are still alive. We live in a world where we are connected to everyone, but we inhabit the lives of no one. We've traded the slow life of shared physical reality for a hyper-reality of status updates. We are the most informed generation in history, and yet we are starving for the weight of a real human being. We are experiencing a systemic social displacement, and we're trying to fill the void with likes. If you feel a deep, confusing loneliness, even when your notifications are full, I need you to know that you aren't bad at friendship. You aren't failing at being social. You are living through a fundamental breakdown of human intimacy. We are trying to maintain ancient biological bonds using tools that were designed to sell us shoes. You aren't nostalgic for the past. You're hungry for a reality that hasn't been compressed into a 1080 pixel square. This is a psychological displacement. We've been told that following someone is a form of knowing them, but following is a passive observational act. Knowing is an active participatory one. By watching the highlights of the people we love, we've accidentally turned them into celebrities in our own minds. And you can't be friends with a celebrity. You can only be a fan. We are missing the people we love because we've stopped being in their lives and started being in their audience. Let's look at the first layer of this ache, the erosion of the mundane. In the physical world, friendship is built on the nothing moments. It's the silence in the car, the shared boredom of a grocery run, the unoptimized hours where nothing happens. But the digital world has no room for the mundane. We only share the peaks. We only document the interesting. This creates a state of aesthetic distance. When we only see the curated versions of our friends, we lose the ability to relate to their mess. We start to feel like our own unedited lives are a burden to them. So we stop calling. We stop showing up unannounced. We trade the weight of a real person for the image of a person, and then we wonder why we feel so light. We are missing the versions of our friends that were allowed to be boring. The second layer is what I call the efficiency trap. We've been taught that our time is a resource to be managed. We catch up via voice notes at 1.5 times speed. We keep in touch by reacting to a story with an emoji. But intimacy is inherently inefficient. It requires the wasted minute. It requires the 3-hour phone call that goes nowhere. By trying to make our social lives efficient, we've stripped them of their restorative power. We are staying in touch, but we aren't staying in life. This is why you feel the grief. You're mourning the loss of the inhabited moment, that space where two people just exist together without an agenda or a record. We are missing the people who are still alive because we've replaced their presence with their data. The third layer is digital ghosting. We see our friends every day on our feeds, so we feel like we've seen them. We think, oh, I know what Leo is up to. I saw his post. This creates a false sense of satiation. It's like eating the picture of a meal instead of the meal itself. You feel full of information, but you're still malnourished in connection. This creates a state of ambient loneliness. We are surrounded by the digital shadows of everyone we've ever known, and yet we are sitting in an empty room. We are missing our friends because the algorithm has convinced us that we've already found them. We've turned our relationships into an archive, and we're wondering why the library feels so cold. Hashtag meta. So, how do we find the living again? How do we move from the audience back into the room? The shift has to be from information to presence. An information model asks, what have they been doing? A presence model asks, what does it feel like to be with them? It's a radical act of rebellion to admit that you don't actually know what your best friend is feeling, even if you've seen all their posts. It's choosing to believe that the spec sheet of their life is less important than the texture of their voice. We have to reclaim the useless connection. This means calling someone for no reason. It means showing up with coffee just because you were nearby. It means admitting that you're lonely, even when your feed is liked. We have to de-optimize our hearts. We have to be willing to be inefficient with the people we love. Because love is the only thing in this world that doesn't benefit from being faster. This not saying you should delete your accounts. I'm saying you should stop using them as a substitute for a soul. A screen can give you a person's face, but it can't give you their warmth. It can give you their news, but it can't give you their now. But people you miss are still here. They are just as lonely as you are. They are also sitting in a blue-lit room, staring at a screen, wondering why they feel so empty despite being so connected. You life update. You need a life. You need to touch the territory, not just look at the map. Tonight, before you scroll past another face you love, I want you to do something inefficient. You don't like their post. Don't send an emoji. Put the phone down and call them. Or better yet, tell them you want to sit on a porch and say nothing for an hour. Why does it feel so much more terrifying to ask for their time than to watch their life? Because the real thing actually matters. See you.